this stuff really works, because one of the things I did at the start of last year is I was going out every day and buying, a meal deal, thinking I'm doing really well. And I switched from getting the meal deal to just preparing lunch at home.
Make sandwich,
make soup, leftovers. And it definitely trimmed out the fat from my finances and the other fat, but we won't talk about that other fat. but this stuff really does work. So hey, listen, go and get that tool. It's the Fat Finder. If you want more information about the tool, then reach out to us, and we'll of course connect you with Colette and the rest of the other ladies. So thank you for that, Colette. And Stephanie, if I could bring you in at this point.
Very well.
Thank you so much again for contributing to this piece. But your contribution, you talked about learning how money works. And it's sad to think that money's been around for so long. We use it practically every day, but many of us seemingly don't know how it works.
We think we know.
Yeah.
We think we know.
So please shed some light on that, learning how money works.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the opportunity of being here. I just want to say, Judy, I would have loved to have been in that conversation at the hairdressers. It sounds like so much fun.
Like so much fun. You were all with me. Yeah. Literally, you were all with me. We were going through, right, and this one says, and this one.
I can see how they all intertwine, and it was a little bit like what Sharon and Linda were saying about multiple streams of income, and a bit like what Brenda was saying. But it's multiple streams of income is one when we sometimes think of getting another job.
Yeah.
But you can have multiple streams of income if you begin to understand how money works. And it's a 400-year-old banking principle that we're not taught. And it's simply understanding the rate of return that we're getting for our money. So, I think it was Joyce that was saying we're taught to save our money. So where do we save it? We save it in the bank. We don't understand that the banks understand this principle, and they run a system called OPM. I often say to people, other people's money. So we're told to save our money in the bank. They then take our money and transfer it into their lending division. They then loan it out at a higher rate of return. So we want people to begin to understand, yes, you understood the principle of saving money and putting together an emergency fund and things like that. But now you've got to get money working for you. Rather than just working hard for money. We know, go to school, get a good job, get a good education, get a job. We now need to stretch that further and get our money working as hard for us as we work for our money. So it's understanding the rate of return, understanding that how to calculate that. You take the number 72 and you divide it into whatever rate of return you're getting. Let's say you've got an ISA and the bank's giving you 3%. 72 divided into 3 shows you how long it will take for your money to double.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you take 72 and divide it into 3, it takes 24 years.
24 years.
Or your £10 or your £100, your £1,000 doubles. Yeah. So what we're saying to people is it works on the reverse as well, because if you have debt, sometimes we're very loyal to our banks, because they say you're an excellent customer, let's increase your spending limit. And they give you a credit card and they say, you handle your money well. Really, they just want to make sure that they keep us in debt. The first thing we do is we teach people how to get out of debt, because obviously the longer you're in debt, you're making money for the banks. And I often say to people, you're robbing your future to pay for your past. So understanding that when you're out of debt, that freed up money can now be invested. And the rate of return you're looking for on an average should be at least 8%. Because the understanding how money works, it's not just about the rate of return, it's also about time.
Yes.
So if I'm getting, let's say I'm getting 12% on an investment that I'm doing. 72 divided into 12 is 6. So my money should double every 6 years.
Yeah.
Imagine if I'm thinking about retiring and I'm in my 40s. I don't have as many doubling periods if I had a grandchild at 1 who has all those years for money to double. for them.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? So
Yes, it
understanding
does.
how money works is key, because it's not just the rate of return, it's also about time. But when you
Yeah.
can combine everything together, it all begins to make sense, which allows you to get multiple streams of income through your investments, as opposed to just using time, trading time for
Yeah.
money.
Okay.
Does that, yeah?
That makes absolute sense.
It's a key one to learn. It's a key one to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yours was one of the shocking ones where, there was like financially dependent number and people getting
Yeah.
excited with the calculators. Then when it was like 20, how much?
20.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
And I love what you said about we're loyal to our banks, but to be honest, our banks aren't necessarily there for our benefit. They're there for theirs.
yeah.
So we need to learn how to not just work for our money, but make sure we know how, and that our money should be working for us. I love that. I love that.
100%.
IT.
IT, if I could bring you in here. So one of the things which I guess is similar to what Stephanie was saying is we need to raise our money consciousness. What do you mean by that, and why is that so important?
I think for me, and I just want to say thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to contribute to the magazine. It was an absolute pleasure. And because the reason why we say it's important to raise your money consciousness is because it's one of them things where most times there are lots of conversations happening about money, but are we actually intentionally doing anything about what we're talking about? And that was why when I was contributing to the article, I said one of the ways you can raise your money consciousness is by actually spending cash. Because we live in such a cashless society right now, it's very easy for there to be that disconnect between the actual cash that's going into your bank and what you're spending. So that was when I said it's important to actually, just for a period of 90 days, not for the whole of 2023, just actually say, you know what, for these 90 days, all I'm going to do is spend cash. And as spending cash, I'm actually going to write down exactly. So I've got my little pad here, and I'm actually going to write down every single day what I'm spending. And it's just amazing what can happen when you do that, because a lot of us here are from a particular nationality, whereby we're either of African or Caribbean descent, and we have something called a deep freezer in the kitchens, don't we? And when you raise your money consciousness and you know you're only going to spend cash, suddenly you go through that deep freezer and you ask yourself, what exactly is in this chest freezer before I go to it? When was the last time we actually asked ourselves that question? And I did recently, and I was pleasantly surprised with how many meals were stuck in my freezer while I was ready to just go shopping. So it's because at the end of the day, if you don't raise your money consciousness and you don't become intentional about that everyday spending, then suddenly things like how money works, it becomes almost like, how can I actually get this to work for me? How can you actually have an emergency fund when you don't know how much spending? How can you have if you don't know what you're spending, how would you even know that you need another stream of income? Absolutely. So it's just a little thing that you can do in 90 days that can set up that chain reaction on how you actually start doing things differently in 2023.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yes.
There is so much gold nuggets in here. You must have been speaking to Judy, Itohan, because Judy, that's Judy's mantra now. I need to make sure we have nothing in this fridge that's over a certain period of time. So,
it's very important, because apart from how many times have you gone to the shop and you say, oh my God, we've got no pasta, and then you come back home, you have 4 packets in there and you've just bought another 5 more. So it's just helping us in that regard, so that we can start steps that can lead to the big things in the long run.
And I think for us, where we don't have £1,000 even reduced to £600 food bill, but we don't have 3 children at home. So both of ours are off at university, and that was a big change.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, no, there's food in the fridge, there's food in the freezer, there's tins in the cupboard. That, you know, I don't want to be pulling them from the back of the cupboard and they're rusty. You know, why you know? So we were really looking at that, and then when they came home at Christmas, oh, the accusations. Oh, we're an ingredients household. You have to make everything.
That's
yes.
It. There's nothing in this house, they said.
I said, there's plenty. Put it together, make it.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
So yes,
brilliant.
More money to spend on actual Christmas presents.
Absolutely.